Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Believe in Bengal podcast presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Solomon Wilcots, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. How about the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals will now be looking at Trey Hendrickson playing in a Baltimore Ravens uniform? That's right. He joins Jesse Minter and the dreaded Baltimore Ravens. He's crossed over to the dark side, and he will be playing his home games at M&T Bank Stadium when the Cincinnati Bengals face off with the Baltimore Ravens in their two contests in the upcoming 2026 season. Look, Trey Hendrickson, you got to give him credit. Someone who's 30 plus years of age ends up signing a 4-year deal for $112 million, an average of 28 mil. He was looking to get around 35 mil per year, didn't quite get that. He didn't even get to 30 mil per year, but 28 mil a year. In fact, a lot of people, by all accounts, think that this is a rather steep price to pay for Trey Hendrickson, someone who didn't even play in half the Bengals games last season as he was lost to a core muscle injury. However, the Cincinnati Bengals, think about this. If you're Joe Burrow, you dodged one because the Baltimore Ravens thought they were going to acquire the talents and services of one Maxx Crosby. It was rumored and had been reported that they had agreed with the Las Vegas Raiders to send this year's first round pick, the 14th overall selection, and next year's first round pick over to the Las Vegas Raiders in exchange for Maxx Crosby. It appeared to be a done deal. However, that deal fell apart in light of the physical that Maxx Crosby took. The team doctors would not suggest that the Ravens would sign him to the deal. And so just hours before the new league year and before the free agency period were to begin, the Baltimore Ravens rescinded the deal. They took their draft picks back, right? And gave Maxx Crosby back over to the Las Vegas Raiders. This was a stunning turn of events because at that point in time, I was having nightmares and visions dancing in my head that Joe Burrow was going to be playing Maxx Crosby twice a year, TJ Watt twice a year, and Myles Garrett twice a year. Think about that. 3 of the top sack specialists in the NFL that the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow would be playing against those 3 pass rushers, 3 of which could end up with they could end up being Hall of Fame players. That is like the worst nightmare you could have ever imagined for the Cincinnati Bengals offense and for Joe Burrow, a guy who's trying to stay healthy going into the 2026 season. We all know that as his health goes, so does the team's ability to make the postseason. Something they have not done for each of the last 3 years, by the way. They have not made the playoffs in each of the last 3 years. We've talked about that and we'll continue to talk about it this offseason because I think it is ever present that this is a team that has a mandate. If the 2026 season ends without the Cincinnati Bengals going to the postseason, there's going to be a lot of names changing on the door. A lot of plaques with names on it's going to be coming down. And that's unfortunate because there are some good people who could get swept up into that house cleaning, so to speak. But that's where it's at. That's where the team is right now. It's win or everybody's got to go. And look, I think the quarterback could if Joe Burrow ends up a 4th consecutive year not going to the playoffs, little birdies are whispering that even he may want off the mothership, that even he may want to find fertile ground. Think about players, Hall of Famers, Calvin Johnson, who once played in Detroit, Barry Sanders, retired before he would ever come back and play another game in Detroit. He got tired of the losing. Great players expect greatness, and they know that they can't do it by themselves. They need to be on teams that are also aligned to achieve greatness. It's a partnership. It's not done by one player. It's done by the front office, the organization, the talent evaluators who need to build a team around a quarterback, and the coaches It takes everyone within that organization. And sometimes you got to ask yourself, is it the quarterback who has failed the team, or is it the team that has failed the quarterback? We already been through this once when Carson Palmer left after the 2010 season, and we were sort of buffered from his absence because Andy Dalton came in 2011 with A.J. Green, and they ended up going to the playoffs 5 consecutive seasons. It sort of buffered the pain that we would have felt with the absence of one Carson Palmer. Now, we didn't win when we got to those playoffs. That's a whole nother story. But yet still duly noted that the absence of one Carson Palmer was muted. The noise that came from it, or should have come from it, was muted simply because the team rebounded quickly with a rookie quarterback in Andy Dalton, one of the talented receivers that the team has ever had in A.J. Green, and they go to the playoffs in 5 consecutive seasons. Andy Dalton, still as we sit here today, is the Cincinnati Bengals' most winningest quarterback. So he really helped mute a lot of the noise that would have come from Carson Palmer walking away from the Bengals. And if you don't think Joe Burrow, who grew up here in the state of Ohio, doesn't know that story, then you're just not paying attention. But we're going to talk about that more this offseason, right? Because I got to ask this question. Cincinnati Bengals fans, what if the Bengals were to give the Las Vegas Raiders a call and inquire about trading for one Maxx Crosby? Would you like it? Would you be in for that? If the Cincinnati Bengals went from Trey Hendrickson as their starting pass rush guy to Maxx Crosby as their pass rush extraordinaire, I'm here to tell you that would be an upgrade. And that's no disrespect to Trey Hendrickson. That's just fact. And even writers who I've talked to in Baltimore don't see this as an upgrade for them. In fact, they're muted. They're seeing this as a come down. They were highly anticipatory to see Maxx Crosby walking through that door, okay, at the beautiful Ravens facility that I've been to. It looks like a country club. The place is so beautiful. But they were not happy when the trade fell through that would not be bringing Maxx Crosby to Baltimore, and that the Ravens would end up settling for Trey Hendrickson. Again, I have all the respect for Trey Hendrickson, but Maxx Crosby's a different player. That guy plays the run. He led the league in tackles for losses. Second most in the NFL with tackles behind the opponent's line of scrimmage. What we would call tackles for losses. He had the second most in that category of any defensive player in 2025. And he missed the final 2 games because the Raiders benched him because they didn't want him screwing it up, helping the Raiders win more games that would have maybe lost them that first overall pick in the 2026 draft that you and I both know is going to net them the quarterback from Indiana, Fernando Mendoza. Maxx Crosby is such a relentless player that the Raiders saw fit to bench him because they know. And anyone who's been to a Raiders practice when Maxx Crosby is there, the offensive players hate him because he has no second gear. He has no next level. He has no, hey, slow it down, take it easy on the guy. No, that's not Maxx Crosby. He will hunt quarterbacks until you take him off the field. That's the only way you're going to get him not to go 100%. And the Raiders knew it, and that's why they benched him, and boy, was he upset. And I will predict right now, there's no way he's going back to play 2026 for the Raiders. And the Bengals ought to know that, because I believe that the asking price today for Maxx Crosby is much less than it was 3-4 days ago over the weekend when the Ravens gave up 2 first-round picks in 2026 and then another in 2027. They got their picks back, by the way. And now Maxx Crosby remains the property of the Las Vegas Raiders, who they know he's not coming back through that door. He's not going to play for that team. He knows that team quit on him. He didn't quit on them. They quit on him. He's been through 5 regime changes at the coaching level, having played for John Gruden, having played for Antonio Pierce, having played for Josh McDaniel, having played for Rich Bisaccia, having played for Pete Carroll as 5. There's no way they're going to talk him to come back to play for his 6th head coach in what will be his 8th NFL season. He's not going to do it. He's heard that story before. Well, we're going to be better this time. Oh, no, it's going to be different. He already saw you quit just to get a draft pick. And Maxx Crosby's not wired that way. He's the kind of player I would want on my team any given day. But I got to tell you, Cincinnati Bengal fans, when was the last time the Bengals done anything surprising like this? Right? Trade to go get a Maxx Crosby? I can tell you right now, it's too rich for my blood. I'm not giving up the 10th overall pick in this year's draft to get Maxx Crosby. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. Because I could get a Caleb Downs who's 22 years of age, 21, 22. I'm not giving him up because he's a difference maker in my mind. I would not give him up. I would wait and use that 10th overall pick on Caleb Downs, the talented safety, the Thorpe Award winner, the Ronnie Lott Award winner in college football, and put him in that Bengals secondary. And when we talked to you about the free agents they did sign, I think the Bengals have themselves 3 phenomenal safeties, okay, and Jordan Battle, Brian Cook, and Caleb Downs. I'm not giving that up just to get Maxx Crosby. I'm sorry. I just wouldn't do it. But when was the last time the Bengals have surprised us with being uber aggressive to double down on greatness? I'm waiting. I don't hear anything. Okay, there you go. I've been around for a long time and I've never heard it. Just heard crickets. That's right. Never seen anything that astounding and that astonishing. It's okay, relax, members of the front office. Because I wouldn't give up that 10th overall pick to go get Maxx Crosby. I would find a way to leverage some other ways to get him, but I wouldn't give that up. I think that's too high of a pick. Certainly not giving up multiple first-round picks for Maxx Crosby. In fact, I really believe the Baltimore Ravens had buyer's remorse. They knew Maxx Crosby was coming off surgery for that meniscus tear. They knew he already had surgery and wouldn't be 100% healthy at the time of the physical. When they did the deal last week, they knew it. They sat there and nobody else gave up first-round pick. Oh, hey, guess what? The Raiders have their 14th overall pick, plus they have the 1st overall pick, plus they have their first round pick next year, and they have their center, Tyler Linderbaum. I think the Ravens looked up and was like, wait a minute, what are we doing here? You mean we still have time to rescind the deal? You mean it's not the start of the new league year yet? Can we get our picks back? Yeah, you can get your picks back. That deal's not written in cement. The cement hasn't dried on this deal. They were like, they went talk to their contractors and said, let's go get our picks back. Whew. Oh, man, we dodged one there. And the Ravens have been known for doing this. They've done it multiple times before. 2018, you can go back to 1997. Brock Marion from the Dallas Cowboys, 96-97. They reneged on that deal. So the Ravens have been known to do this, and all pending the physical. Oh, got to pass the physical. What player you know has played 7 years in the NFL and is that in pristine health to pass a physical? I'll tell you a player who I'm very close with, good friend Drew Brees. He was leaving the Chargers, and then he goes to do a physical because it looks like the Miami Dolphins are going to sign him. Nick Saban's the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, and they bring in Drew Brees after he hurt his shoulder, had surgery on it. You knew the shoulder was hurt. Everyone knew that's how he ended up leaving San Diego because they gave the job to Phillip Rivers. He goes to Miami, and Miami refuses to pass him on the physical. Well, guess what? The doctors for the New Orleans Saints passed him on their physical. They were like, sure, he needs to do a lot of work. Sure, he needs to do rehab, but he's Drew Brees. And he went on to have a Hall of Fame career and win a Super Bowl for the New Orleans Saints because some doctor didn't get in the way on expecting a perfect body for a guy who's already been playing in the league for several years. as Maxx Crosby has. 7 years in this league. Trust me, it's going to be hard to have a perfect anatomy, okay? Your biological clock is ticking. And the Baltimore Ravens knew that. I think they had buyer's remorse and wanted their draft picks back. But that's a story for another day. Maxx Crosby remains on the market. And I'm asking you, Cincinnati, should the Bengals make a move for Maxx Crosby? It would be an upgrade over Trey Hendrickson. Shamar Stewart on the other side. And, of course, we need to go get even another pass rusher on this defense. You need 2 right now because right now we don't have any. I'm sorry. If you are a Cincinnati Bengals player, you're getting upset with me because I'm saying we don't have any pass rushers. Yeah, live with it. Just live with it. I know it's hard to listen to. It's hard to hear, but it's true because there's no data points that suggest that we're okay in that area. By the way, Cincinnati Bengals, do you know they had the most missed tackles of any defense in the NFL last year? Couldn't tackle. Not on the front level, not on the mid level, and not on the back end of the defense. Last I checked, tackling is pretty fundamental to playing the game of football if you play on defense. I'm not going to ask offensive players to be great tacklers. If somebody gets an interception, they start running it back. But I definitely expect the defensive guys to get a man on the ground when he has the ball. Okay? And I definitely don't think that Al Golden teaches, hey, guys, grab him. If you're trying to tackle, just grab him and sling him to the ground. No. You know what he does? He teaches them same foot, same shoulder, use your shoulder pads. You got to run to and through the ball carrier, and you got to wrap up with both arms to get him on the ground. And it's more about want to than it is about how to. And that's what the Cincinnati Bengals are shopping for. On the front part of that defensive line, at the mid-level of the defense, and on the back end of the defense. Guys who are going to get you on the ground. Brian Cook, free agent safety from the Kansas City Chiefs, former player at Mount Healthy High School in Cincinnati, is coming back home. Former UC Bearcats coming back home. I love this. I love this signing because this guy can tackle. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion with the Kansas City Chiefs. Came in that first season in 2022, and all he's done is play lights out. This guy's a phenomenal tackler. He's a 4-year starter in that secondary. Played in a lot of big games in Kansas City. Played in a lot of big games and played on some really great defenses, right? And now I thought this was a really good signing by the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not as excited by the Boye Mafe signing, even though I like Boye Mafe. Here's the deal. I would have loved, and Boye Mafe is good. He helped Seattle win a Super Bowl. He's another Super Bowl winner. I think he had 40 or more pressures over the last season. He's a good player, really good football player. I would be jumping. I would be leaping. I think we should have landed one of these 2 off-ball linebackers. Leo Chenal from Kansas City. The other one, you may have not know about him, Cincinnati Bengals fans, but this Caden Ellis, formerly he left Atlanta in free agency, signs with the Washington Commanders. The dude had 100 tackles each of the last 3 seasons. When I tell you, he is a tackling machine. He is what the Cincinnati Bengals defense needed. Why we didn't sign him? I would have prioritized him in the free agent market, but no. He goes to sign with the Washington Commanders. He was on the open market. Didn't even trade for him. Didn't even have to. You could have signed him on the free agent market. But he's going to play for the New Orleans Saints, and Leo Chenal is going to play for the Washington Commanders after leaving the Kansas City Chiefs. And Caden Ellis, who I just absolutely loved as an off-ball linebacker previously in Atlanta, and now he signed with the New Orleans Saints. The 2 that got away. And now, look, I tell you, there was another safety I like, this Jaquan Brisker, who played for the Chicago Bears. I love the interceptor that that, Kevin Byard is, even though he's 32 years old, but this guy is a pick magnet. He finds the ball. If we don't get Caleb Downs with that 10th overall pick, you can go back to the aftermarket after the draft. And if Kevin Byard is available, got to sign him. Just telling you right now. But if you can get Caleb Downs, because I'd love to see in the Bengals secondary, Caleb Downs, Bryant Cook, and Jordan Battle. Those three safeties. You give me those three, I'm getting excited again, Cincinnati Bengals fan. I'm getting excited if you give me those three. We need another corner in free agency. We need one. Need a safety in the draft. We need an off-ball linebacker. More importantly, we need difference makers, right? We need another defensive lineman. I like Boye Mafe, but remember, Boye Mafe, his production don't think of him as a Trey Hendrickson. Just don't. Don't even think about it. He is your secondary pass rusher. He's not going to be your primary. Some guys are the straw that stirs the drink. Other guys are just the ice cube floating around. They're getting stuff done. They bring down the temperature a little bit, but they ain't the straw that stirs the drink. I'm just saying, okay? Don't get mad at me. I'm just the messenger. I'm just telling you. The guys who stirred the drink on that defensive front in Seattle, guys like Leonard Williams, guys like DeMarcus Lawrence, everybody else is running around picking up and cleaning up the aftermath. I'm just here to tell you. There are some guys like a Myles Garrett. He's the straw that stirs the drink. Everybody else is getting cleanup duty. You ought to finish with double-digit sacks if you playing with a guy like that. And Leonard Williams is that dude. DeMarcus Lawrence in Seattle is that dude. And they've got a great coach in Mike McDonald. A great coach. This guy's a defensive mastermind. And I got to tell you, this Jesse Minter is now back into the AFC North. He's going to have the Baltimore Ravens playing great defense. Just count on it. Okay? So, Cincinnati Bengals, we've got to get back to where defense is a priority. I like defenses who are nasty. I like defenses who play with bad intentions. I don't care if you're a choir boy and you say yes, sir, no, sir. In fact, Lawrence Taylor had a bad disposition every single day he showed up for work. Maybe not in the best frame of mind, maybe not conducive to be the optimal employee. But you know what Bill Parcells used to tell the defense coordinator for the New York Giants when Lawrence Taylor was there? Because that defensive coordinator was a guy by the name of Bill Belichick. Bill would complain that Lawrence falling asleep in meetings. I'm telling you, I've been in meetings. I've talked with Coach Belichick about it and Phil Simms. We're sitting there swapping stories. And they're telling stories about how Lawrence would be sleeping. And Bill be like, yeah, you see this, Lawrence? And he said, wake the hell up. Then Lawrence was like, hey, Bill, I said I got it. He would walk through the whole play and tell him what his assignment was. And then he would proceed to lay his head back and go right back to sleep. He did it. I heard these stories from Bill Parcells and Phil Simms, his former teammate, while we working together at CBS. I am not making it up. And even Coach Belichick would say that Parcells would say, Bill, just get him to the ballpark on Sunday. That you can't even talk like that in our league today. You can't even say that to a coach because they'd make me seem like I'm crazy. This Solomon Wilcots, he'll take anybody and put him on the team. No, I won't. I'm just not going to apply these average metrics to this great player. I'm going to try to get the great player to be all that he is, but some great players are great on their own. And all they need you to do is get the hell out of the way, especially when they're on defense. Because you got to understand what a great defensive player is really like. He's a tornado. He is not one to be controlled. You ever heard of the description of a great tornado and what kind of damage it does? It rips through a town and it strips the land bare, taking everything in its weight. And if it ain't tied down, it's taking everything, including the roof. That's what great defensive players play like. That's what the game is like when they're playing downhill. That's what it was like when Lawrence Taylor played. That's what it was like when Tim Crumry played. That's what kind of player Tim Crumry was. And I know because I was in the huddle with him. He took everything. And if it wasn't tied down, it was coming with him. And you know what? We didn't try to control him. You let him get upfield. Tim, go do what you do. Go wreck shop. And we need a few of them and a few less choir boys on defense. I need me some angry, ornery cats who got bad intentions. That's what we need. That's what it means to play great defense in this league. All right, I've gone on long enough. I hope you enjoyed just another wonderful edition of the Believe in Bengal podcast presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Solomon Wilcots, and I will see you again next week where we will be talking Cincinnati Bengals and grading how they did in free agency as we head into the upcoming draft. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.